Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to Tastemaker Talk, where you get to chat with your food creator business besties. Here we touch on real talk topics that provide community and connection as we help you achieve your creator business goals. We are your hosts, Abby. I'm Abby. This is Candace. I'm the CEO. There's a lot of C's there. Candace is the COO of Tastemaker Conference, and we are super excited to be with you today talking all about summer work-life balance on episode 5 of Tastemaker Talk.
Yes, and today we'd love to spotlight Redmond Real Salt. Redmond offers simple, clean, and real products that will elevate your food and your health. We are excited to have Redmond joining us for Tastemaker Conference 2025 and our virtual Tastemaker Conference this September. And we know that you'll love to connect with this fabulous brand. So thank you, Redmond. We can't wait to see you in Vegas. And I do have to just throw in there, this is a brand that I've known since I was a little girl. I used to travel with my grandma to sell Redmond salt.
I love this story.
So it was really fun, and she was so cute. She was fiery. We would stop at restaurants and she'd walk in and start putting salt shakers on the tables, and they would be like, ma'am, and she'd go, if I'll be back in a week. If you don't like them, I'll take them back. And they're like, no, you can't just leave. And she goes, I'll see you in a week. And she'd come back, and they were like, wow, really good salt. And I don't ever remember her taking them back. I'm sure there were times that she did, but so that's the salt we've been using all of our life, and I love it. So
And I can see you doing that, like
yeah, I've
as an adult now.
yeah,
Like Candace carries around her little tiny Redmond salt in her bag everywhere she goes. So anytime we're on a trip for work or whatever, we'll be eating and she's like, which is the best. A
and I have
lot of people I know actually carry them around.
oh really?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, I have the little salt, and then I have a teeny tiny Tabasco because sometimes the food is just not spicy enough.
They make baby Tabascos that fit
They're
in your
so
purse like that.
they're like this big. My kids are like,
I mean,
we have it.
I know they make these ones, but they make like a mini version.
Teeny.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, we love that.
Yes.
In terms of community announcements moving forward, we have officially launched tickets for virtual Tastemaker Conference 2024. So, our theme this year is once again all about monetization. It was that last year, and we just had such huge success. And obviously, we're in this business to make money. And so we have amazing speakers lined up to teach you to incorporate practices that are lucrative, sustainable, and lead to financial freedom on your own terms. So, from revenue streams to passive income to investing, we are covering it all, and we want to see you there. So, we will drop the link in the chat here live, and then it will be available in the show notes as well for anybody who is listening to the recording here. And this is fun. We are now live on Spotify if you prefer to just listen to this as a recording. I mean, for the people that are on the call here, but that's exciting news too. That we are continuing to expand our reach with Tastemaker Talk. So, as many people as possible can listen on whatever platform works for them and their listening or viewing needs. So, now we get to talk about new food news, and I don't know what they are. And this is so exciting to me. So, Candace, what do we need to know about food?
New food news, new food news. If any of you want to create the jingle, send it on in and we'll use it. We'll plug it in. Okay, so 5 Hour Energy has come up with a new product to take your backyard barbecues up a notch. It's caffeinated barbecue sauce.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that insane? They launched on
I I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like
yeah.
I want to hear what people have to say in the chat. Hi, Amy. Hi, Lori. Hi, Liz. Caffeinated
What if the kids
barbecue sauce?
and they were like on their barbecue? No way, I need to try it. Daphne.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I
about
feel like
that.
keep that with stuff you don't want the kids to get because 5 Hour Energy would be insane.
I like, how do you even do that? I want to know the science behind. I mean, I guess they can put it in soda, they put it in anything, but like, I want to know what that whole food research process looked like.
Who was in
That
that book
blows my
that
mind.
was like, you know what we need? We need caffeinated barbecue sauce. Who was that meeting? Like, how is it not caffeinated ranch first? Like, I would feel, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a Utah girl, so barbecue sauce is more.
No, in your case, it would be caffeinated fry sauce. It would be Diet Coke fry sauce.
There you go. Caffeinated, extra caffeinated fry sauce. But yeah, I was just shocked when I saw that. I was like, we need to let Susie know that she's already like a spunky little ball of energy. But imagine if we also like snuck her some 5 Hour Energy barbecue sauce.
There you go. She can put it into her products.
Yeah.
All right, what else is there?
Okay, so this is just for 4th of July. There's two things I wanted to tell you. A, you can go get a free Krispy Kreme donut if you're dressed in red, white, and blue tomorrow. So that's a little fun thing for you and your family. And then Caesar salad is something to celebrate, and it's turning 100 on July 4th. So on 4th of July, an Italian immigrant, Caesar Cardini, is said to have invented the dish on July 4th, 1924, at his restaurant Caesar's Palace in Tijuana, Mexico. So an Italian immigrant, which I thought was fun too, because we're leaving Italy next week for our
Yeah.
frog retreat, but it was developed in Mexico by an Italian immigrant. It was a steamy night, and Cardini was struggling to feed an influx of Californians who crossed the border to escape prohibition. So in the dining room, he just put together all these ingredients he had on hand, including garlic flavored oil, Worcestershire sauce, lemons, eggs, and Parmesan cheese. And a star was born. So happy 100th birthday to Caesar salad on July 4th by an Italian immigrant in Mexico.
That is cross-cultural.
Isn't that amazing?
How about that? That
So
is interesting. I
So
would not have assumed that would be like a fun 4th of July food fact either.
I know you would never think Caesar salad 4th of July. So, okay. Sad news with salads. McDonald's not, I mean, I don't care about McDonald's. I don't eat there, but for Americans in general, McDonald's discontinued its salad offerings in America due to lack of demand.
Interesting market research.
I was like, but it said only in America, not in other countries. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay.
You
Um,
know, if I'm gonna get a fast food salad, it's usually like Chick-fil-A.
yeah,
Or I go to Kava or something, you
yeah.
know.
I wouldn't think to go to McDonald's for a salad. And so I'm guessing that truly it is that the market there is just not their salads.
It's non-existent. Yeah.
And then Cup Noodles came out with a dessert inspired cup noodles.
Interesting. Is it churro flavored?
Dessert cup noodle. I don't know. I would want the barbecue sauce before that. Who wants a dessert cup noodle?
I don't know. I'm kind of so, you'll love this. We're mixing our holidays, but Buddy
Okay.
the Elf eating spaghetti with maple syrup and M&Ms. And M's. And ever since that movie came out, like my kids have recently decided every Christmas they want to eat that.
Yeah.
So I could imagine it's the same texture flavor profile, maybe.
Okay. Because we have a recipe for that on Holiday Food and Fun. If you type in, go to holidayfoodandfun.com and then on type in spaghetti, and we have the dessert spaghetti from Elf. And it's so,
Yeah.
we did it with pancake batter. So I
Oh,
placed it on my griddle and it turned out so cute. You got to go look at it. And so it's like this big pile of like spaghetti noodles, but it's made out of pancakes. And then we put the M&Ms and the syrup and everything on there. And it was so good because I don't, I don't want the noodles. I want
oh,
the
well, my kids eat the actual noodles. Like we're being purists about this. So
okay.
I guess that's the same concept. So they haven't released any other information about the flavor.
Not really. Lori was saying maybe it's like chocolate ravioli, which that probably would be good.
Oh,
Like the cup of noodle, it's already like soggy in the cup. And I'm like, I can't wrap my brain around how that could be good. But like I've seen some recent
hmm.
lately, like if you've seen like chocolate salami, it's really not salami at all. It's made from figs and nuts and stuff. And it's so cute. So maybe
Hmm.
somehow it works, but I don't know. It
Yeah.
sounds Pepsi Pineapple is making a comeback, but only for a limited time. So if you're a big pineapple fan, you're a big Pepsi fan, it's coming back.
What?
I know, crazy, huh? And then the last thing I was just gonna say for 4th of July is the difference you'll spend in buying a burger versus making it home. So if you cook, and it's just the burger. If you cook the burger at home, it's $2.16. If you buy it at a restaurant, $6.95. So 2 4 almost 3 times as expensive to buy it versus make it at home. So
Mm. We should do a whole episode with like a food economist talking about the price of inflation with
well,
food
remember last
specifically.
time
I actually know somebody we could do that with. He's
Okay,
like
good.
a Oxford economist, and
Okay,
he is like a master of food supply chain.
that would be great
Thinking
because
out loud.
remember last time how I told you how much the prices have increased? It's like
Yeah.
30%. And then when you factor in gas, it's like 40% an increase in food for people when you factor in gas. Um, and so, yeah, we should have him on and talk all about that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, no, that would be super interesting. These
But
are like the niche topics I get into though that I'm like, does anybody else care about this as much as I do? Like in this community. Dude, I feel like that's a good conversation though. Yeah, like around food because that impacts our business directly with all the like, recipe creation, right? It's
it does.
become more expensive.
Well, I
Yep.
saw a blogger that she said she posted on her Instagram. I don't remember. I can't. I'm losing the blogger right now, but she said when you wonder why bloggers um, offer subscriptions or other things and can't just give everything for free, she's like, I spent $45 on cherries for a recipe today, one recipe, and I was like,
Yeah.
because you have to make it and remake it, and
Yeah.
So I think
That's
sometimes people forget one recipe. There's $45 worth of cherries.
yeah.
So, anyways,
Yeah. Good points. Good points. Well, I feel like that all for new food news?
that's new
Did I
food
catch you
news.
up?
Happy 4th
Okay.
of July. Cook your burger at home.
Yeah.
Don't it? Dressed in red, white, and blue.
And douse your barbecue, your
Yeah.
caffeinated barbecue, your burgers and all that in that.
Yeah.
Um, so today our topic is summer work-life balance, which seems fitting. We're entering the holiday week. Some people are probably already doing that. And Candace and I know firsthand how busy things are in the summer because we're both moms with young kids at home. Candace has 5 kids, if you didn't know that. I have 3, but I share them with my co-parent every other week. So I get a little bit of a break that way. But yeah, there's a lot of things. If we have family members we have to take care of, or we have pets or other jobs, right? Like we all have busy full schedules, and it can feel overwhelming to prioritize the fun and connection of the summer months along with business goals sometimes. So we're going to talk about that and really just our own experiences as we have been navigating summer. And I think the conversation can be around setting clear boundaries, creating a dedicated workspace, prioritizing tasks, maximizing flexibility, and practicing self-care, and then communicating with your employees, with your fellow team members, whatever that looks like. So we just ran into this yesterday, Candace. If you want to share this, how like if we want to start up the conversation, how do you recommend people go about setting their summer work hours, and what does that look like in terms of prioritization?
Yeah, and it's hard. Like for me, I decided that so there's some non-negotiables. Every morning my two little boys get in my bed and they cuddle. And that's part of my morning and I don't want to take that away. I've thought about if I went to the gym early, then I could get it done early in the day, or if I started work earlier, but I'm not going to miss out on that because it's a tiny window. I imagine maybe one more year and then they're going to be done. And so that was my non-negotiable. So first ask yourself, what are some of your non-negotiables? Mine
Mm-hmm.
was morning cuddle, which is very, very small, but for me, it was a non-negotiable. Number two was afternoon. We have every summer we do a summer fun checklist, and my kids put all the exciting things they want to do on there. Um, and that's a free download on my website. But it is we do it every summer and it's super fun. And so the afternoon is usually when we do that stuff. So morning is usually a better time for me to work out or work and work out. And so I decided that I was going to just get up early and I was going to get up at 6 a.m. and I was going to get on my computer and work. And I've been doing that for the past month and it was working the first week or two. And then like Abby and I have a call every morning and I was just I'm pretty outgoing and pretty like cheerful and I was just grumpy. And it was because I was opening my computer first thing in the morning before I even had time to feed myself or take a drink or get out of bed because this is a terrible example, but dedicated workspace, I love to work in my bed. Just awful. I
Mm-hmm.
don't recommend it. Don't do that. I don't recommend it. But I have a little desk. My husband bought me a little desk, and so I put it on my bed and I work here. Um, but I thought it was working because the babies would be by me while I was working, but then I was getting irritable and like, okay, that's enough. So yesterday, Abby said, Yeah, I don't know if this time frame is actually working best for you. Like your mental health, I think that it's better that you shift just a few hours so you can get up and eat because I wasn't eating until I would work and then it'd be like 1 o'clock and I'm like, I haven't even eaten today. Why am I so grumpy? What's
Hmm.
going on? Well, you've done nothing, yet today.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of information to take in when you open up your email first thing in the morning to kind of process all of those things or emotions or whatever that come with work. So I love having a business partner that knows me well enough to go, you need, because we joked that after I work out, I'm like a completely different person. I've taken my endorphins and I feel great and I'm
Hmm.
over the world. And so just shifting a start time from 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. I get my cuddles with the babies. I get to get up and feed them and myself breakfast. I get to work out and just put myself together somewhat, then sit down and I'm ready. And I usually start my day with my own like personal, journaling and um, spiritual study, and that helps set the tone for the day too. And it was hard to get all of that done. So just shifting 2 hours has made a huge difference in like, okay, I can open my computer, and if the email is not perfectly positive or it's a rough message or whatever, I can handle that before it'd be like, oh no, it was so devastating.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
been really helpful in shifting. And I did that today. And I know Abby knows me well enough. She could tell you that this is much better today than it was yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that's just like, that's why it's fun having these conversations is seeing the behind the scenes and getting some commiseration to some degree and validation of working by yourself remotely from home can have a lot of challenges that way because I think it can be hard if you don't have an accountability person that, sometimes you just need somebody else to say to you, hey, is this actually working for you? I can see that you're struggling with this when sometimes I think we just don't realize that we're in our own way. And so, like, I think that's helpful too, to even if you have a partner, you have a business buddy, an accountability buddy, as a food creator, if you're on your own website or whatever, just checking in with them and having those check-ins, I think that's important so that you're recalibrating and adjusting as needed for sure.
I heard,
In terms of what was
oh,
that?
I was going to say, I
No,
heard
go
something
for it.
too that especially in summer, we as bloggers go through burnout and it's very normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost always the case. It happens for me twice a year. And I know without doubt it's June or July. And then it's again November or December. There just is no avoiding it. It happens to me every year.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend recently said that she heard on a podcast that it was important to not to you have to go through the burnout and come out on the other side and just embrace it and kind of just stop for a minute. And that can be hard. Be like, I'm not posting, I'm not sharing, I'm not doing. No,
Mm-hmm.
or else the burnout's not going to go away. It's kind of like pulling a muscle. You have to stop for a minute, take a break, then come back slowly. So she was going through that burnout and it was like, I can't do one more thing. And so she just stopped. She said, okay, I'm not going to do anything for the next 2 weeks. And she didn't. And she's like, I can feel myself coming out of the burnout. I'm actually really excited and rejuvenated and ready to go work again. Like I'm excited to create again. And it will come out slow. But anyways, she was told that if you don't go through the burnout and you just keep trying to go around or over or whatever, it's not actually going to go away. So
Mm-hmm. I think that's good life advice for anything. Like if you don't let yourself go through it and feel it, you're
mhm.
never going to deal with it and you're never going to be able to move on fully. I mean, yeah, you can put a band-aid on it and avoid it, but it comes out in other ways for sure.
You
Good
taught
life lesson.
Yeah, you taught
Well,
me how to do that. Remember, I didn't like
my therapist taught me how to do that, so that's fun.
being.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, so it was good.
Um, that is really good advice. Another good piece of advice. We're just going to pass around the advice that our friends give us. Um, I was recently talking to one of my friends who is a writer, and she used to like she's familiar with like the influencer creator world, and she's a writer and has owned her own business, and so she does e-commerce. So this world is very familiar to her. And we were talking just about some shifts that I've had in my own personal schedule. Like I have so much flexibility and free time on like the weeks that I don't have my boys. And sometimes like I think having like a very set for me anyway, like a set amount of things that I have to do, almost like overloading my schedule almost makes me more efficient and productive. It's when I get the space and I have the freedom that I'm like, oh no, I have to have a lot of discipline because I don't have anybody like needing me to have like a schedule. And so we were talking about what that looks like because she has recently gone through that shift too of when her kids are all in school full time and she has an abundance of free time now because she's not working and she's just doing her writing master's program. And she was like, have you thought about just creating your schedule and like creating blocks for like the order of what you want it to go in, instead of it being like it has to be at these time frames. And so I think like that is really useful information for those of us in the community who have an abundance of time, because I think, you know, when we have like a live-in partner, we have children, or we have a lot of these responsibilities, sometimes you don't realize how terrifying I think just space can be. And it's like, how do I appropriately feel that? So I have started doing that, like in these summer hours of just making myself a little to-do list in my notes, in my reminders in my phone. And I will just put the day, like, and I just take it day by day. I don't plan anything else out outside of like a day ahead. Just like, I'm going to work, I'm going to get up, I'm going to walk my dog, then I'm going to feed myself, then I'm going to work, and then I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to do a free thing, and then I'm going to make dinner and watch a movie and go to bed. And the nice thing about that is then I don't feel locked into like, I have to do it at this time. It's just like, these are suggestions and it's a loose framework for me to follow so that I can move them around. I can check them off. I like a good checklist. We use Asana like for that because it's like, oh, these are my work tasks and these are my personal tasks. So I think like that helps me set boundaries around like the structure of what my day looks like.
Mm-hmm. And I
So
like
that's my thought on that.
And I like the blocks and the flexibility of you need to get this done, but as matter like the time frame is flexible, you know? And I
Mm-hmm.
also talked about this yesterday. Many of us work much better. Have you any of you read the book The 4 Hour Work Week? So not that you need to do a 4 hour work week, but even like a 4 hour work day. But a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us work much more productively with a more compact time. So like
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours rather than eight. I can get the same amount of work done in four as I can in eight because my brain is just so busy with everything else and I can only focus for so long and then I'm like, huh. So if I know I have 3 to 4 hours to get the stuff done, I get it done. But if I have eight, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I do a bunch of other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like being aware that it's okay to not work an 8 hour day. It's okay to do a 4 hour block if that's better for you, or a 2 hour block, um,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your brain and how you work as well.
That's really important because I think like there's a lot of conversation right now about like neurodivergence and what that can look like. And I think there's a lot of us in our generation that have like, whether it's diagnosed officially or undiagnosed ADHD or certain like cognitive um, disabilities, I guess more or less of what I'm trying to say is that when you truly understand your brain, if you're like, this is a challenge for me, and then understand like it's the reason why I can't do tasks in long chunks or at the end of the day is like I simply don't have enough dopamine left in my brain. Um, so I think like that's a bonus too, is when you give yourself boundaries and time and seek to understand yourself and be like, hey, why is this coming up? Why am I coming up against this resistance? What could this be telling me? What information is available here? Is a way I think to get curious about, you know, what limitations you have or what helps you might need, and then finding ways to maximize your workspace. Like you said, we all have different brains and we all work in different ways. And I think just giving ourselves permission to be like, good for you, not for me, and just like taking
Yeah.
what works for yourself. So let's talk about dedicated workspaces. I don't
Okay.
think so. That being said, like I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with you working from your bed if it works for you, right? I personally can't do that because I'm like, I associate like sleeping with my bed, right? So I'm like, I get really cranky and like irritable because I used to spend like years of my life working in my bed and realized that was not good for my mental health. Like then I created like my own little office space and I have my own little desk so that when I sit down to my desk or in the office, like I'm in our Tastemaker office right now, like my brain is like, okay, turn on work time now. So,
And I think it's like the phase of life because
mhm.
this is not the ideal place for me to
Yeah.
work. It's
Yeah.
not. And next year, I have one more year until my oldest is almost 16 and my youngest is almost 5. And so in one more year, they're all going to be in school full time. And at that point, I have a desk out in our family room. I have a beautiful desk and it's so cute and I made it nice. But right now the kids use that computer. Like it's not mine. It's
Mhm.
not my space. And if I were to try to go out there and work right now, it'd be absolute chaos. And so I have to come into my room, lock the door, and sit on my bed and do my work. And so I think it's stage of life too, because I've thought a lot
Yeah.
about that. I'm like, I'm excited to sit at my little desk out there and have the sun shining and sit with a little cup of herbal tea and do the whole work thing. But right now it's like, all right, well, I'm sitting in my bed. I've got my drink here, and hopefully I can remember to eat a snack and the nanny's out there with them playing and having fun and it's a stage of life. And so it's
Yeah.
always changing too. I have to tell you the funniest story about stage of life. Josh and I, my husband, we have a little casita out back, and that's where he works. He works from home. He's a software engineer. And so he works from home, and I work in here. And we get our own stuff. We mostly eat at home throughout the day, but sometimes we'll go get lunch, not together on our own. And we just do that. So I went to go pick up lunch. I love this place in town. And I went to go pick up lunch, and I walked in, and our friends were sitting there eating lunch together, husband and wife. And they were like, "Oh, that's so cute. Are you coming to get lunch for you and Josh?" And I was like, "I should ask Josh if he wanted lunch." Didn't even, didn't even think about that because we are very independent with our work, and I was getting myself lunch. I figured he wants lunch,
Mhm.
he can go get himself lunch, and
Mhm.
and he's the same way. He's like, I got a sandwich today. And we would never even have thought, and maybe that's wrong, but we have dinner together and we do all these other things. So we're very independent with our work. So I thought it was funny. And I told him, I said, it'll be funny when the kids all go to school in a year. We can go to lunch once a week together. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. And our friends were like, we go every day. And I'm like, don't want to do that. I'm good.
That's
Love my
funny.
husband, but I don't
Yeah.
want to do lunch every day. Not
Yeah.
to be with him, but because my brain to stop and break it up and go to lunch with him every day, it would ruin my workflow. It wouldn't work. And
Mhm.
again,
Well, there's a lot of couples, I think, that both work from home
yeah.
remotely, right? Because that's a very real part of our world now is remote work.
And I can't
Even
imagine
still.
working in the same environment, even like it would not
Hmm.
work for the two of us. And simply because we're both on calls all day long, it would be
Yeah.
disaster trying to both have our calls. So we have our own space and that's okay. And so times and seasons and what works for you is going to be different for somebody else. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like hearing that. Yeah, my dedicated workspace is just like I said, like we have the office, which I don't always utilize. I do that when I have the luxury of having that, and I realize like that's not for everybody. But also just like the desk has always been important for me. Like, and I think I told you this, Candace, when I was having like my mental breakdown, working from my bed when years ago when we first started Tastemaker, and even before that, it was like I'd work from my bed and I opened up my computer first thing and would just be miserable and so frazzled. And so even that shift of just buying myself this tiny little desk from IKEA and putting one shelf above, and then I had like a mood board with all the things that inspired me, and I had some cute pens and a notebook and my laptop and like a cute little lamp. I think I spent maybe $75-$100 at IKEA to buy the shelf, the desk, the lamp, and then would get like go cut some flowers outside. And like for me, that was just like a huge, huge shift. And so I think it's great knowing the what works for you, what works for your partner, uh, and honoring that, and then reserving the right to change your mind and adjust as you need to. I think like that is the biggest takeaway from this is that flexibility is key when working from home, especially in the summer months when there's a lot of transition and things happening.
well, and Amy,
So
she has a small desk in her bedroom and her back is to the bed so she doesn't have to look at it. And she says she
that's
also
great.
it is. It's a good, and she said she takes care of her dad and two cats who don't get along. So you understand. I mean, when people are
Mm-hmm.
out there arguing and fight, you get it, you know? It's
Yeah.
get your bed and trying to manage all the chaos can be hard. So
Absolutely.
that suggestion though, to have the desk not looking at your bed. So even if you're in a,
That is smart.
and a good thing for summer hours too is batch working before summer. So really you only have to do like what you have to do if you have
Hmm.
everyone home in the summer. Um, it'll be okay. And it's probably important for those of us who are food bloggers to take we work so many hours a week and so much we almost never take time off, remembering that the rest of the world, most of them have many, not most, many have 4th of July off. Take 4th of July off if you need to. Take Christmas off if you need to. Whatever holidays are important to you, take Sunday off. Because if you're constantly, this is my number one thing, is if you're constantly available,
Hmm.
you're going to burn out and it's going to be
Yeah.
hard back. And so if you're going to be like, well, I'll just pop on for a couple hours every single day, that's hard. You have to have dedicated hours where you're like, I do not work on Sunday or I do not work on Saturday or whatever,
Hmm.
and honoring that for yourself to trust, to build that trust with yourself too. So
Yeah. I think that leads into this next question of then prioritizing tasks. So, what does that process look like for you in learning to prioritize? Like, what is truly important versus maybe what's less so, but might be shinier? Like, what tools or tricks have helped you in identifying that so that you can maximize your efficiency and productivity?
yeah, I mean, I think that we use tools like Asana, which have been absolutely game changing for me because we put in all of our tasks and then I can prioritize them by date. Like this is important, but I can wait for another 4 days,
Hmm.
because otherwise I think our brain holds everything and we're like, I have to do all of these things. But if you actually look at it, if you sit down and type them out or write them out, I'm a girl who loves a paper planner. I still use my paper planner and I love it. Um, Write out those tasks that need to be done. If you actually do that, you're like, this doesn't really need to be done today. It can wait until
Hmm.
Tuesday. And then you can
Hmm.
assign it a block or a date or a whatever to be done by. I think that is really helpful in prioritizing. And then also knowing yourself. So I know December is my favorite month of the year. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So I do what I have to do, which our event is in January, so it's a lot. So there's
Hmm.
a lot, but my blog gets to take kind of a little holiday break as well. And what I've done is in October and November, I have worked so hard those months before to get content ready to go so that I can schedule it out. And it's looking new, it's going out new, but I don't have to be the one to create it. I don't want to create that stuff in December. I want to actually be sitting down and making the cookies that no one else gets to see because they look like junk.
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
because they're not picture perfect. They're the ones we make it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I want, that authentic holiday experience for my family to remember, not the mom stress during the most stressed, like busy time of year. I don't want that. And so I've prioritized that for me. But maybe for you, it's like February. You need the second month of the year. You need January, or maybe you need July. I have a lot of friends who take the whole month of July off. They can't.
Hmm.
So look at what you need and then prioritize from there and then work backwards. Okay, if I know I want to take most of December off, what do I have to start doing in August to make sure that happens? You know?
Hmm. And I think like that's what's so great about this industry is we do have the capacity and ability more or less to batch create content months in advance. And yes, there might be some tweaks, there might be some viral trends that you want to hop on. But I also think like what that does is like if you have a lot of that evergreen content and a lot of your editorial calendar and what you're wanting to create, it then leaves again that space for you to be like, oh, this is a fun random thing that I want to work on that I think then fulfills like that sense of like flow and engagement that I think is really important in living just like a well balanced life. Is that's I've been going through this thing in positive psychology, and there's this model. I think it's called the PERMA model, and engagement or flow is one of the things. And I think like that's one of my favorite things to do. And I think like that's really important when talking about like summer burnout or summer work life balance is still making time for the things that bring you joy too in
Yeah.
terms of prioritizing tasks. Like I think that we should prioritize like our joy and our relaxation and time with our family, like needs to be prioritized just as much as, like work tasks.
Yeah, it definitely does. So I think that's a good reminder for all of us. Lori says she has a going back. I love this reminder for us as prioritizing and what it looks like in our environment. Lori said,
Mm-hmm.
all desk in the living room, which works well when she needs a separate monitor. However, for the last week, one of her cats has decided that they need to work from her favorite room in the basement. So she's bowed to her meows and we migrate after lunch every day, which is like, this is a perfect example of adjusting based on what is happening, what is going
Yeah.
on in your life, adjusting and being okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The flexibility, which is our next point, maximizing flexibility. So, what does that look like to you? And how do you take advantage of flexibility, being able to work from home in this capacity? Or like what personal stories or tips do you have? I mean, I feel like our conversation today is an exercise in flexibility, which
Well,
summer months are, but
Well, one of the things I've noticed is that as I create, so it's very difficult. I'm sure most of you guys can relate to this, is when you have the blog that you have to do SEO research posts and all of this like very structured content, but then you're supposed to be over here managing your Instagram, being like, look at all the content I'm putting up over here. And here I am showing
Mhm.
up like perfectly ready and happy and blah, blah, and you don't need to do that. You can show up just the way you are. That's perfectly fine. People want to see that too. But what I found, I'm going to go back to just like either the summer months or the winter months when I have created content for my blog ahead of time and it's kind of just a running machine and it's running smoothly. I have the bandwidth mentally and creatively to come over to Instagram and then be like, now I want to
Mhm.
share things over here. And it's been really helpful because before this just felt like an unnecessary evil, like, oh, why do I have to have this? I hate it. But as I've showed up authentically, I've grown because I'm there to provide that community with answers to their questions and what they need and something really valuable. But it's because I'm not trying to overwhelm myself with both. It's because I've created a time enough ahead or ahead enough for my blog that I can have the creativity over on social media. Or it could be vice versa. You know what I mean? Maybe you schedule
Mhm.
on social so that you can be creative on the blog. But when you're like every day, it's kind of like the paycheck to paycheck situation when every day you're like, okay, I have to get this out because I have nothing else coming tomorrow. Nothing is happening. It's stressful,
Mhm.
overwhelming. So using that flexible time to create ahead of time, I think is very helpful. And then
Yeah.
saying what's most important. I don't do anything on my Facebook anymore. I was like, I don't even care. Like, I don't. I used to do Twitter and Facebook and all of that. And I'm like, I only care about my blog and my Instagram. That is it.
Mhm.
My newsletter, but yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like we just need permission for somebody to say, you are allowed to let things go. So if anybody listening needs that permission, here's your permission slip to say you can let go of things that are no longer working for you or are sucking the soul out of you, to create space for something that serves you and serves your business and your audience in a better way.
Well, I was this close to being done with Instagram, this
Mm-hmm.
close because I had it with that platform. But then
Mm-hmm.
I figured out how do I want to show up here and what will work for me? And one of those things was I used to think I had to post 5 times a week because everyone's like, you have to post every day or you're gonna fall behind and they won't show your content. Blah 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 blah. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
luckily, my friend Sam from Frosting and Fettuccine, she talked to Pinterest or Instagram, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't care how much you post. We just want you to be consistent. So if you post Monday, Wednesday, great, but just post Monday, Wednesday. You know." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they also said showing up on stories, even if it's just 2 frames a day, is very helpful because it keeps showing your relevance up in the top. But that was a big thing. I only post once, maybe twice a week on Instagram and I've
Mm-hmm.
almost doubled my following in the last 8 months. And it was
Mm-hmm.
because I got consistent quality over quantity, consistent showing up authentically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think. That, yeah,
Lori,
I,
Lori
what
has
was
a,
that?
do you want me to, Lori has a
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
How
go
much
for it.
content in terms of weeks, months do you typically batch in one go? I'm sure it differs for everyone, but I'm curious what other versions look like for this. Listen, I have 30 posts sitting in drafts right now because
Whoa.
I'm really far behind. Um, but I love to batch out, a couple weeks in advance. I don't do more than a month because I feel like everything is always changing. And so, like, for
Yeah.
example, half of those 30 posts sitting in my drafts, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, dang it. Those were written before the changes of don't put this in there and don't put this in there. I'm like, I don't care. I'm still posting it. And so I'll have to make some tweaks. But if you batch too far, because those are from 4 months ago, 5 months ago that I just haven't gotten around to posting. And that's the problem is I'm going to have to go back and change them and update them again. You know what I mean? So I would
Hmm.
say 3 to 4 weeks out is really great. Much more than that, man, things can change. So it's tough. It would be my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. And I think like even just I don't really create content in that way anymore. Like when I show up on my Instagram, it's purely for fun because I feel like making a recipe and sharing it. But thinking of our business Tastemaker, how we run that adjacently in the content that we're planning, like we used to plan pre-pandemic days like a year, 2 years in advance. And it's really interesting, I think, to see just kind of a global shift of presence that we have now where we don't feel this urge and need to be creating things so far in advance that and I think just again giving yourself time and space and permission to be like I can be creating this just a couple months or whether that's 4 weeks whether that's 8 weeks it would even up to like 6 months maybe I don't think in content creation for food specifically that might work but I do think there has been a shift that people don't have like as much of a not a sense of urgency. It's kind of like the opposite of that, of just like we trust ourselves to get this done and figure it out, and it'll all come together, and it does.
And I found that
Um,
January, I'm like ready to make plans every year.
mhm,
So what I do is I go into my Airtable and I do all the things that I want to do for the year. And I start planning and I think about it
mhm.
and I put them in there with a timeline of like March, April, June, July. And I plan my year in Airtable. Well, that gets moved about 75 times throughout the year. So,
Yeah.
meaning what I currently had planned in July is now pushed to some other time, and that's okay. And it gets moved and it's constantly getting moved. And
Mhm.
I'll have to remember that for my writers too, who help me out because they'll be like, you moved what was supposed to be due for this week and I already started. I'm like, sorry, just keep doing it. I will not mess anything this month. I'll move on to next month. But it's because I'm like, I don't want to make that anymore. That doesn't sound fun. I don't want to make that cupcake. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
I think giving yourself that same permission to be like, I don't have to. If I don't want to make it, I don't have to. Do something else. That's fine.
I, I
And
reserve the right to change my mind.
yes, and we heard from our friends Arson and Andrew how important it is if you have good quality content on your site, prioritize updating right now. Like
Mhm.
creating from
Yep.
scratch is so exhausting. So prioritize updating those that have fallen in rankings. And I think that's very helpful as well to be like, great. So in the summer months, for example, I have my writers, they're updating all of my old posts so that I don't have to provide them with a new recipe every single week and multiple times a week because I don't want to, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's been helpful too.
Well, I think that is great advice. And we only have a minute left. So we are going to wrap up the conversation. The last point that we wanted to talk to you about was self-care. And I just think with that, I would just say prioritize your fun and your rest and your play because I think that is always important to avoid burnout and just managing the work-life balance in general. I have found is the best way of self-care for me. Do you have one little self-care tip, Candace, you want to
Yeah,
send everybody off with?
I would say that the first thing we tend to let go is sleep because we're like,
Mm-hmm.
later, or I don't really need. No, I would highly recommend knowing what you need for sleep and having that be a non-negotiable. You will be more productive when you get the sleep you need. So I
Yeah.
definitely um, definitely think sleep is one that we tend to overlook the most and
Hmm.
should be a top priority.
Yes, agreed. Okay, well, that wraps that up. Thank you for those of us who joined us live today on episode 5 of Tastemaker Talk. You are not going to want to miss episode 6, which takes place on July 17th. So, 2 Wednesdays from now, where we will be streaming live from Italy. So, we're going to turn off our backdrops and maybe we'll just like give a
Wow.
tour. I don't even know. I don't even know. Maybe we'll have the group, maybe we'll have people say hi. But we want to give you just a live inside scoop from the retreat, share some lessons that we've learned from our first international event, um, and more. So we are super excited about that. And we will see you from Italy.
See you. What is it? Ciao. No, is it
Yeah, I
ciao?
was thinking that too. I'm like, is it andiamo? Is that let's go or ciao? Yeah, ciao is goodbye. I think we're going to learn so many Italian words. We'll just be coming at you with all the phrases and saying. So we hope you can tune in live for that.
Ciao. Daphne says yes. Ciao. We'll see you in
Ciao.
Italian.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.